Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us with our second episode of the Riders Digest. This time it is the wonderful Bree, the magnificent Phill, and the spectacular Doran, along with me, Ben. We are less than 24 hours removed from episode 21 of the Rapid Riders podcast and Twitch stream and everything else that we do with it, where there was some real serious hyper melodrama that went on between quite a few characters, actually, not just one or two, but it was actually some tender moments that happened. Yeah, we'll start with Phill, who's obviously playing Dunstan Dewey Fairfoot.
Yes, me. Yeah. Which bits? What's going on?
There was a couple of bits, wasn't there, with Dewey last night?
Yeah, there was a couple of things. So, give us a little bit of background for a start of where you when you obviously came up with where you wanted your character arc to go with Dewey. What facilitated that? Was there a specific goal that you had in mind, or did you just come up with a bunch of ideas and throw them out?
I wanted a character that was young and had no idea of what life was like outside of the Cologneon Empire's oppression. I also wanted it to keep him a bit more naive. I also wanted to mean that he didn't act as far as life as an indent goes. His has actually been he's been pretty lucky in the fact that he ended up getting picked to do work that is that actually started feeding into his character and essentially feeding mechanically into the D&D character that we have. He's a ranger, but obviously indents put into cities and put to work and not allowed to really do what they want unless they earn their rings, whatever the term is. After being jobbed about on various different things, he ended up working in the mansion of one of the richest people in the city, who had huge grounds, and he became the gardener, caretaker, groundskeeper kind of role for that. And he did it really well, mainly because he Mary Poppins that shit and had bird helpers basically flapping around picking up all the leaves and stuff. So,
but also put into context, Dewey was the lucky one, and didn't you just sleep in a gutter for most of the time?
Generalist is
he was the luckiest when he was lucky one.
Yes, we had a bit of a revelation about Dewey last night.
We learned something.
Obviously, not that every character knows what the significance of it was, but my character Zeke and yourself had briefly talked about it previously. So
he basically he had it was the whole family stayed at this mansion of this noble, and he basically made friends with the daughter of the noble, who was basically around about the same age as he was. And was and again she grew up not knowing any different to what the world was like, basically, but was a decent enough person to not think less of him just because he wasn't human.
So you mentioned a little bit, Phill, about how Dewey got his connection with the birds, because that's what I'm interested in most.
Yes.
Currently. And you said you just fed them and they just started bringing you things. With the arrow scene with, can't remember the nice monk man. Kyle, yeah.
Kyle, the therapist.
Superman.
The therapist. Also, Ben, Halleck doesn't know he's a monk.
You don't count.
That's fair, actually. You're not the only one. But you mentioned so is it just training and then you just have a bunch of actual birds?
So,
or is it some kind of
mechanically in the game? Mechanically, Swarmkeepers, they're not actual birds; they're Feywild spirits. So to me, I like to just move that a little bit on, in that he also just living vicariously through a character in a fantasy world of someone that can communicate with birds.
So.
Is that there are Feywild spirits in amongst those birds, but other birds, just because they flock together, just go with them. So every now and again, like, there'll be a bundle of them, and some of them, and that's why it's a swarm rather than just say a few, because there'll be a lot of others that'll come along as well. It's purely fluff. It's not an actual thing.
Yeah.
In the game, but
obviously in the Empire, magic is illegal.
Yes.
So it's not like, is it inherently a magical ability, or is it more of a?
To be honest, I don't know, and I don't think Dewey would know either. It's just something that he's just
got a connection with.
Yes, yeah, it's something he's always been able to do. So his parents, like I cannot for the life of me remember what I said the dad did, but I think maybe he was like I don't know, like,
was he also a blacksmith?
No, he wasn't also a blacksmith.
Everyone's a blacksmith.
But the mother was the Jew elf, and she had previously, like, lived a large chunk of her life in the woods, and was basically of the forest kind of thing. So that
was Dewey's mother a druid?
When the war or whatever started, and they then had to stay in Benalicia, they were kept there. That would basically, I just made it a more whimsical, like, it was too much for her and she couldn't take it, so she died. And that's the idea behind why he has a connection to the wildlife and wanting to be outdoorsy when he's literally never really been outdoors.
Which eventually, should that ever come up between Zeke and Dewey, they are going to have a very
bond.
Yeah, they're going to have a very deep bond, because it's a very similar story. But obviously, I'm not going to divulge exactly what happened, because I want to keep that for.
I want to do it in game.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But obviously, Dewey knows that Scar is a very weird bird and is not normal.
Yes.
Does Dewey know some of his own birds are not normal and are not actually birds? He just thinks
I would say he just thinks birds are his friends.
Cool.
He thinks that my bird is a bird. He just thinks just thinks he's a weird, fucked up bird.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he doesn't. He's not one to stereotype and generalize. You know, he's not like all. He's not one like all birds are going to be my friends. Some birds are creepy little psychopaths. That.
Speaking of friend with nature, how is that squirrel in your pocket?
Oh my god, you forget about him every single time.
I don't forget about him. He's always in the back of my head.
What episode did we get? Was it like the second or third episode we got Wahlberg the squirrel?
We got him on episode 5.
4 or 5.
5. I think it was 5.
Okay. And have hardly ever done any other interactions with him, so he's just still in my pocket.
It's fine.
Seeds and stuff.
We have established that Scar can carry Milo, and Milo can carry Wahlberg.
Surrounded by lots of birds.
We can tactical bomber the squirrel in with the monkey into wherever we needed to go.
I would like Milo to have a little backpack with the squirrel in there. Oh god.
There we go. That's going to be the adventures that we're going to do. We're going to do the adventures.
That's the one shot
of the various random animals.
Wow.
The one shot is just our animals.
How do your two characters look at Dewey then? Like, what's your outlook on Dewey, and what's Dewey's outlook on them two? Is probably a good question.
Amazed this child has survived so long.
Yeah, he is very innocent, and he does come across like a child that you should sort of look after. Diana and Dewey haven't really spoken all that much, but like last night they spoke for the first, for the first time properly. And poor Dab was annoyed. He was upset.
It worked out really well. I think it was because the previous episode where Halite's gone off and he's left a letter for Diana, and it's a really, really sad, heartfelt letter. And she just sort of, and Bree said she just sort of folded it up, and Dewey was like, "Are you okay?" And like as soon as she said, "Yeah, I'm fine," I was like, "Insight check, like, right, come on." But obviously Diana, like mechanically, has ludicrously good. Like deception, persuasion, like any charisma roll is fantastic. So he got annihilated in that sort of challenge, and I'm like, good, that works out great.
Yeah,
because
so...
it's like, yeah, you convinced him you're fine, and he was like, that's not right.
That's not right at all.
Going off in Ab's boy into the wherever.
You didn't know that. You were away, and
we saw it. We didn't see the
No
actual interaction.
one saw it. No one saw it.
I don't know. I didn't see the actual waterfall event or the fight or any of that kind of thing.
Obviously, you guys did.
But I have seen you carrying on with that guy.
Haven't
running off,
done anything.
going after him.
What have the characters seen?
I've been on a mountain.
Exactly.
You went off.
As far as Zeke has accidentally been around you in your old house, and proceeded to be a dickhead to basically get like,
yeah. You were
wait.
a dickhead then.
Yeah.
And then you were there for the whole week.
Yeah.
So you would know.
Yeah.
Things.
Yes, he is well aware of the undertones, not what has been said.
Yeah.
Like he's not dense.
And then Dewey doesn't know anything.
He was in the house as well, so he was there for the sexual tension of it all. And then after convincing Halite not to run off on his own, then went off, and we discovered to go after the ex.
No.
Well,
so
I mean, it was. That's what it said. I was like, I didn't want to make past mistakes.
So we had this conversation both on stream, and we have had this conversation in the previous digest.
Yeah.
Because this has come up more than once now.
I still haven't watched it.
The perception of other people with what my actual intentions were.
Mm-hmm.
So
is Dewey under the impression that it's because she's all loved up and she's chasing after him?
I literally went after Garrick. Is that what?
Yeah, I think that was that was my thought of how Dewey would have perceived it, like coming to this area, realizing that it was a big X from her past, and that her behavior starts changing, and it gets awkward between her and Halite, and then she goes. And as far as I can tell, and that's the point I think I might have mattered, because I don't know where we worked out that's where he's got. Because I think I'm fairly sure Garrick said he was going to get taxation,
that.
And it seemed like the only place that she would have gone if she'd gone off.
I think, and I did put that in the letter to Halite.
Yes.
So whether Halite would like.
Oh no! Yeah, Halite read it out loud.
I gave it to literally every single person. Like, am I reading this right?
Because Halite can't read in his head.
Really can't. He has to spell it out.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so you did know that Diana had gone after Garrick. Yeah. But
Hal. What was Hal's opinion of why Diana went off? Because it seemed to change a little bit over the initial episode where you were traveling to the place, and then when you went up the mountain, and then when you were coming back down the mountain, you obviously, it seemed like Halite had that range of emotions, and it was going through it quite logically as much as he could, trying to push the emotion out of it. But you definitely had some different reactions as you were going through it.
Yeah. So Hallie's initial reaction didn't even think about Garrick, and the possibility of there being, about Diana being still in love with Garrick. Hallie's always been competitive against Garrick because there was always this underlying, this had old roots, old scars, and he was concerned in that manner, and he was like, "What's this? What is this going to change anything? What's this mean?" But in the initial thing, he was more hurt that Diana didn't say in person that she was leaving, and that kind of hurt him in the fact of like, oh, she doesn't trust me to be able to handle my emotions. And then Halleck went back to like, because I got angry because all this stuff, and then he went off to go clear his head, and then he had time to think about stuff like, oh, maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe Garrick is the right one for her, and stuff like that. And then I confronted her when I came down the mountain about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And now we'll go to Diana. What was Diana's intentions for both the actual players to know, and then how it's reconciled through the character, whether they've come to the same conclusion?
Yeah. So in her backstory, I'm not sure. I don't think any of the characters have actually asked. Like none of the characters know, but I think I think a few of the players do. So yeah, when there was the resistance before, half a century ago, Garrick was asked by Harling to go and do some secret things. And it was kind of like I'm gonna go do this thing. I'm gonna see you when I get back. And Diana's like, yeah, sure, cool, that's fine. Because the elves, they didn't really think about it. They've been together like 100 years at this point.
But still basically kids.
Yeah, just still sort of like, there was never any commitment because elves, there's just 1,000 years. There is no need for commitment. And she didn't really think about it. And then he never came back. And like my song said, she felt really guilty about it, and if she could do it again, then she would have maybe gone with him, or I think like at least said goodbye properly or whatever. And yeah, and it was sort of that trigger that he was gonna go and do the same thing again, and that she was just supposed to go to the mines and wait. That's like it triggered her to go, I can't do that again. Not like I don't think it wasn't anything romantic necessarily. It was
his family.
His family. I don't want him to die. Yeah, it was just like, it's too triggering. Yeah.
He's in terms of Diana, he's the last vestige of her childhood.
Yeah.
Has maintained her parents' house, has continued living there. Like when you turn back up, the majority of the furniture and the portraits are all the exact same.
He's sleeping in my parents' bed. It's weird.
Well, yeah.
I think maybe he got it.
But it would have been weird if he was sleeping in your bed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. No, I don't know.
Anyway. I've never washed these sheets.
Oh wow, they are 50 years old, dude.
How the sheets look like in one piece.
But yeah, I think it was just the regret. I think, yeah, just regret for not not doing it 50 years ago and just couldn't live with herself if that had happened again. She almost couldn't live with herself the first time. So, yeah, that was that. But everyone else just sees like, oh, she just went after her ex, chose him over Highlight and Dewey. Dewey's little heart broke too.
Yeah,
that's what you saw.
That was a savage line, Phil. Not because I knew what was coming.
Yeah.
That was difficult.
Well, was that a chosen line by you, or did you not genuinely not know or not have an inkling as to where the conversation was going to be going later in the episode?
Oh no, I didn't know. I didn't know which way it would go.
What was the line?
Like fix his heart?
Fix his heart.
Fix his heart. Yeah. So I knew what I was
pre-plan it.
I knew what I was doing. So that conversation had like completely just taken my legs out from underneath me. I know, and I had to not lie to Dewey. I had to not give anything away. It was difficult.
Yeah,
that was hard.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have a question for Doran.
Oh God.
I want to know what was going through your head in last week's episode when, the whole Diana and Garrick thing was happening.
Before you disappeared underneath the desk.
Yeah.
I was just thinking, like, if Highlight was a fly on the wall, what would he be thinking right now?
Yeah.
And a lot of it was mostly positive. And then he had the slight urge to beat Garrick's face into a bloody pulp.
Yeah.
Which will never look the same again.
Let's see you get my girl now when you're not so goddamn handsome.
Bash.
That's fine. Wow.
No, but I don't know. Just very drama-filled, very awkward.
Yeah.
I'm very thankful that Highlight's mind is very simple, so I don't really need to overthink things. I don't really need to.
What Doran thought, and then what Highlight would have done if he was in that situation.
Yeah, but like when I don't know, it's just I can't really not differentiate. But when I'm looking back, I can't help but think what Highlight would do in that situation, because I don't really have much thoughts on it myself, because obviously I'm not that way inclined. I'm not romantically inclined, so I'm like, they're just in a bath together and weirdness is happening. I don't know.
Were you thinking like, kind of like Highlight is like, obviously you're like your baby, so it's like he's gonna be so upset, like yeah,
essentially.
Yeah.
You can avoid the conversation for as long as you two both want to, but I mean, we're gonna get there eventually.
Yeah. So yeah, then that happened. I thought, oh yeah, so you know when Highlight didn't come back.
Oh yeah.
I was like gutted. I was like, oh. In that split second, I was like, he's gone back. Yeah, he did come down from the mountain, but the other side, and he's gone back to Sarai. And I was like, oh. Never got that conversation. He's just gone. So yeah, that was...
Be very much like Garrick of the past.
Wow. Another unfinished romance. Brilliant.
Yep,
that's what Diana needs.
More trauma.
I didn't mean for that scene to be as intense as it was. I kind of meant for it to be not a funny joke, but more of like, oh shit, where's Highlight? We have to make a tough decision now. And then as you guys leave, he's going to be like, at the door. And then like fucking birds were sent out. Fucking, it was crazy.
And like in my mind, like Diana wasn't getting on the cart. Like she stood in the middle of like the courtyard thing, and she's just like, everyone's getting on the cart and leaving, and I'm like, I don't know. You're like just stood there. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
But yeah,
when you eventually did turn back up, after giving the entire party half an aneurysm,
that's what I'm best at.
there was a fairly strong hug by Dewey standards. And then there was the 1980s closing shot from a action film of colliding in the air with each other.
Jump as high as she possibly can. And actually just reached his chest, yeah.
But still barreled him over.
Oh yeah. I don't know, in my head, I imagine Highlight would be quite, quite skinnier, like slightly, like he's not been eating right. He's still got his muscle tone and all that, but like he hasn't got the much mass as before.
Yeah, much leaner,
a bit more leaner, and a lot weaker because he's not been sleeping the best, and also he's just been working all day every day to make sure he doesn't die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he doesn't fall through the ground.
Yeah. So in my mind, Highlight's like exhausted. Maybe not in the D&D terms, but like you could that's why I try to describe it like, oh yeah, like he's got no face paint on, his mohawk is like flopped down. He's got cuts all over his body. He's got his stubble's growing back. That's what I wanted to describe him as a bit more disheveled.
Disheveled, yeah. And you didn't roll very well on your insight.
No, I'm happy about that.
Yeah,
I wanted
so
Highlight to misread the situation.
Yeah.
I was basically going for any emotion other than anger, I think. That's what I was going for.
Yeah. But yeah. I think at that moment Diana was couldn't explain it at the time, I think, but apprehensive. Didn't know what was happening.
Makes sense.
Yeah. And then we had to ride in a cart with taxes.
That was one of my favourite moments. Just that concept of Zeke being like, right, we're getting on this one, leave them to sort their stuff out, and taxes.
But that's the thing. Zeke had absolutely no concept that would affect taxes in any way.
Yeah.
Other than she might be annoyed at him for having to sit through it, and then just staring at her at the back, like, oh god, she's gonna murder me.
Oh no,
god,
she's a mistake.
Actually, I made a mistake.
That was wonderful. It was a wonderful moment.
That was a highlight of the episode, I think.
Yeah.
Zeke being like, please kill me, Dewey. You'd be like, I am not fucking getting involved.
Oh, yeah.
That then blew up in my face.
I think so, because,
she's also Diana's rock.
Yeah. Diana's friend, and yeah, she's gonna have to talk about it anyway and pick up the pieces and stuff, so
yeah.
It made sense that she knew everything that was going on. But yeah.
So too much.
At this point, so we're in the back of the cart, and you start having your conversation.
Yeah.
Phill, do you want to ask anything before I start pushing forward with it.
Me?
How
Oh.
did you,
Oh, yeah,
Doran?
Mm.
How did you think it was going to be resolved?
That was my question too.
Sorry.
Much differently. I didn't see the breakup happening right then and there. I thought we were going to have a conversation about it and see how the next few days would go.
Okay.
I did not expect it like this at all. That's why I had a list of things I wanted to say in my head. And then I felt, as soon as the conversation kind of started, I felt like, oh,
This was not the conversation.
this is not the conversation anymore.
Yeah.
And even then, I always have a couple of things I have in my head what Halley's going to do and stuff. And then none of it happens because Halley has a mind of his own. So
Just like real
had,
life.
Yeah. So Halley had no idea, obviously. And I had no idea either. I got an inkling.
Did you?
Right before. Right before.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I saw the realization come over your face, Doran, when you realized where the conversation was going. As I did when I looked at Sam, Phil, and Sarah.
Yeah.
Because I was the person with the privilege of I knew that it was coming because I had been speaking with Bree in the daytime anyway.
Only a few hours though before.
Literally only a few hours. But I had the privilege of watching that reaction on all of you.
Yeah.
And that was hard.
Yeah.
Watching all of you react that way. Especially because it's not a secret amongst any of us that we couple of us have had some worries about our characters as we've gone along and weren't sure where we were going with them and things like that. Yeah. For all of us to get to a point where we were all so invested in these characters that all of us actually stopped doing the thing that we normally do of making awkward jokes.
Well, except for me and Doran.
You two also stopped doing it.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, you did.
You suppressed it, don't get me wrong, but you both of you understood that it was serious enough that you needed to treat it with that kind of reverence. And I don't know whether either of you were reading the chat as it was going along, but both our existing subscribers and some new people who were joined were breaking their hearts as this was going along.
Yeah.
They were so invested.
I think I glimpsed a couple of times with it, and I was like, people are okay. People are, yeah, okay. Invested, yeah.
That's the problem.
Because that's what we want. Newcomers coming to our Twitch and making them sad.
Making them sad. Well, it's emotions, isn't it?
Honestly,
yeah,
I can only speak for myself. I can go to 1,000 D&D channels and see some silly nonsense. That's easy to come by. It's all you do is you don't take it seriously and you dick about constantly.
Yeah.
This is what got me hooked when I started watching Crit. It's what got me hooked when I actual character development, role play, like it's what got me invested in the hobby in the first place, because it was an opportunity to, as the failed writer that I was at that point, put a story out into the world and have that instant gratification of feedback from my peers.
Yeah.
And to be able to sit there and just be witness to that was fantastic in terms of like myself personally.
No, very, very similar for me as well. Like as we've been doing this 9 months now, something like that.
So Rapid Riders is about 6 months old at this point.
Yeah. So to see people coming in and commenting and reacting like that and getting invested in it was that was lush.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. And at least for me, it felt like watching two friends break up.
That's what it was.
Which
Felt
is
like
not, but that's not how I. At least for myself, it's not how I expected to feel when I was watching it.
Yeah.
Like I'm usually quite detached from a lot of media and stuff like that. It doesn't really usually affect me.
Yeah.
I'm surprised by how much it affected me.
Yeah,
And I can only imagine what that did to neurotypical people with healthy emotional outlooks.
But like I think both of us were not expecting it to feel like that as well. You know.
So how did it feel for you, first of all, then, Bree?
Kind of as you probably expected it to feel like what it looked like on stream. It felt almost real, like the emotion. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw you wipe away tears a couple of times.
Yeah, I as a player had to put my own mask down. It's been up for a few weeks with the whole like drama and the whole Garrick thing, and it's been there for a while. I thought it was important to be in the moment and feel it. So yeah, it was like one of the hardest things, certainly in roleplay. The hardest thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Completely agree. Definitely the hardest thing I've ever had to do.
Yeah.
Well, how did you feel about it then, Doran?
Oh, I got to the point where I felt so sad I just couldn't cry. Like I usually blubber like a baby when that emotional stuff happens. But I got to the point where I was like, I got like 2 tears that came down, but I couldn't.
That's it.
Like I could, my body was like, what the fuck's happening right now?
So I can tell you what that is. That's grief.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
it's when you're literally too sad to cry. It's called grief.
Indeed.
Emotions and dragons.
Emotions. Right. This is going to be fun.
Because way back when just before we did that one shot, we made these characters and we were joking, me and Doran, how it would be great if they were together.
Started a relationship.
Yeah, so they started in the relationship. It didn't build that way. So
I've never seen it done like that before, though. That's the thing. I've never seen someone start in a relationship and not like gradually become in a relationship. So it was very interesting that we started here and then we're ending up going this way. So it's very interesting to see. It's a lot sadder.
Yeah, it is.
But I guess that's the only kind of way it goes. Or else we'll just, stay on this path. And that's, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's weird. And also, that's not what war does. It's war. This is a very high drastic situation. It fucking sucks. Friends are dying left and right. Hundreds of people are being enslaved, and racism is all it's all shit. So I couldn't really see any other outcome other than the eventual breakup, or at least a lot of going in and out and tension wise. Yeah.
And I think I get the impression that Halite doesn't understand that at all.
He didn't understand it until he sat up at the mountain. It was I'd thought about it quite a lot.
Yeah. Because I know you've said to me in the past that you were like, oh, is their relationship so fragile that the presence of Garrick coming back will just end it. But there was a lot more to it than that. That wasn't the main thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But yeah.
Garrick was the spark that set off the chain reaction of questioning and.
Yeah. No, I think it was it was leaving Alicia. And then we had that, however long it was, in the woods and with a bunch of people that actually they didn't know. You know?
Mm-hmm.
And what would usually happen in the big city is that we would go to these gigs and have an amazing time, and then we go home and then do it all again, the next night and the next night, and we would be there surrounded by other people, and then we would go on these little missions together, and it was exciting and it was fun, and then just like that, it was like we assumed that all our friends had died, half the crowd had died. We were being targeted. We'd left everything behind. We didn't have really any stuff with us. And we were thrust into a difficult situation. And I think that it's almost like a honeymoon period, when you just kind of just always having fun, and then it just ended. I think that was the catalyst for it.
We had to wake up from the dream we were in.
Yeah, exactly. It was so much fun.
It's a lot of trauma for people to go through very quickly.
Yeah.
And as much as again we do keep things light at certain points, and we giggle and we dick about. Like, I don't know. Again, Bill, did you watch the digest from last week? So obviously, me, Bree, and Sam were having this conversation at one point, saying that we really didn't feel that Dewey, Halite, or Taxes really understood the gravity of what they've got themselves into. The only reason that Diana and Zeke do is because they were there before it fell.
Like, we've lived through, we've been free, and then we weren't free.
And have probably on more than one occasion fought back in little battles with guards or whatever, and had our teeth kicked in for it. And
that's not what I did.
I know that's not what you did. It's what Zeke did.
Well, yeah.
And obviously, then coming to that point, just like, yeah, we can finally stick it to the man, yeah. Which was how it very much looked from the way Hal and Dewey were doing it. It was like that second generation punk, if it makes sense.
Yeah.
Not Sex Pistols punk, the punk after that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, from Hal's perspective, there's no possible way he could understand, because nothing really bad has happened to Halite before he came to the Empire. Like,
oh God.
He made one wrong mistake and got on the wrong boat. Instead of going north, he went south accidentally, and he ended up in the Empire. And, he fell in love with Diana, and that was really good. And then a lot of bad shit started happening. His idols died, a good friend of his died, a lot of the people who he knew died. Like, all the people he fucking guarded when he was a bouncer for Oz Nemesis, all the people he fought with in, like, the mosh pits. It was a thing. It was a real bad thing. But, like, he's also got this emotional and physical power that comes from the crowd, because he's a zealot barbarian for the crowd. So, I don't know how that connection fully happened with it. I don't know if he's just in sync with the crowd, so therefore, he feels what they feel, or he can just harness their anger.
I think what you've said to me in the past is...
So I know as we go along.
Yeah. What is the true connection?
Yeah. I think what you said to me in the past is you didn't really... you didn't know your place until you got to Benalicia, and then it was like your home, you know. I think.
Yeah, because that's why Halite left Sarai in the first place, is because he didn't feel like, not that he didn't fit in, it's just he didn't find other people that were quite like he was. He didn't find any other punk rockers. And when he got to Benalissa, he found, his nemesis, Diana, and I was like, oh shit, I belong here. And I have to fight to stay here.
Yeah. Yes.
So, we're going to now go back to avoid you from both avoiding the topics.
I thought we'd
No.
avoided it.
Nothing
Nothing else to say, is there?
There's plenty to say.
Alright, what?
So,
why can't you guys just work it out?
I fucking tried, man.
Aw.
So
Yeah, you were trying really hard, and I was like, please, I'm not very good at this. Bree's not very good at this, please.
That boy had to try.
For you, Doran.
No.
Yeah.
What's the line that sticks with you from that conversation?
Through all of it, or what Diana said?
From what Diana said, or from all of it, whether it's from what you said or what Diana said, what's the bit that sticks with you the most?
It's, do you understand? Affects me the most. And at that point, Halite kind of like, oh fuck.
Yeah. Do you understand what's happening here?
I hope I don't understand. I hope I don't understand. No, I don't understand. Shit, I fucking understand. It's kind of Halite's thing. And then the other line that sticks with me is, can I still call you babe? Is,
broke chat with that. You legitimately broke chat with that, because Squirrely was messaging Sarah,
yeah.
and actively said that they were crying at that point when you said that broke them. 3 of the new people who turned up quoted that immediately as you said it. You broke the chat with that one.
Oh god.
Yeah. Was there anything that stuck out with you two, if you remember it? Because I don't.
I've watched it back at this point, and I still it's hard to think about.
Yeah.
As well. That was just the can I still call you babe thing was like.
Yeah.
Oh, honestly, mine is the other one that Dora mentioned is do you understand?
Do you understand?
Because that was
that still
that was very real to me.
It was so real.
That's a line that I've been present for, shall I say?
I think
and been in Halite's place when it's been said, and it was very much a
yeah. Because
I watched the realization.
And what's happening here.
Yeah.
And I didn't want it to come across as like, does Halite really, does Halite understand? It's more like, do you understand what's happening?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though it was a direct sentence, it was a very caring sentence. There was no malice behind it. So sometimes what can happen during a breakup is the emotions can get quite heated, people can get quite riled, and it can end up leading to anger or fighting or screaming some of the worst insecurities from one person to the other person in the hell hath no fury like a lover scorned.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can get quite heated.
Yeah. The fact that it was as civil as it was very impressive. Even because none of us have any real issue with truly expressing our full range of emotions when it comes to D&D. We're all Bree has done it most recently, where when you had gone to the conversation with Vexation and actively bellowed at the character because it fit. It made sense. It was a completely justifiable thing to do. It was an extreme reaction, but it was justifiable. On this game, none of us have really shied away, apart from our couple little points that we've requested none of us approach. So the fact that that is something that was allowed within our game, and you still both naturally went for this very delicate, try still very caring position towards each other, made it very like that. I think that's what got people the most.
Yeah.
Well, isn't it just... I don't know if I'm speaking for Dana, but I think it's because they both still love each other very much.
Yeah.
It's not that they were just angry at each other because of, what's happened. There might be some annoyance, but they both still love each other at the very much baseline. It's just circumstances and confusion is split them apart for now, or potentially forever.
It's one of those things that I can only speak on my personal experience, that having approached someone with that intention and then kind of blindsided them the way that it basically did to you, people can have very extreme reactions.
Yeah.
So that's why it was. I think out of at least the three of you, I've probably got the most experience with the person who's ended relationships, the quote unquote bad guy in that situation.
Right.
Yeah.
And I genuinely, even though I know Hal is a good person, I thought his reaction was probably going to be somewhere close to what it was when he found out about Horace.
Really?
That's what I genuinely... So I thought that it was going to be stop the carts. I am going to go absolutely lamp this tree repeatedly until it fells.
Interesting. I didn't think that was going to happen.
I didn't think there'd be any outward aggression towards anyone. Just that rage that was inside of, because at the beginning when Hal was going up there, Hal was blaming himself.
He was.
And that's what my mind was stuck on, was he's going to blame himself. Diana is going to break up with him, and then he's going to go to that real extreme of I'm letting people down. I'm failing, which is what he did with Horace. Like, that was his reaction of, I should have been there.
Yeah.
But obviously, that couple of days up there of introspection has given him the time to actually be rational rather than emotional.
Yeah. Well, it's not that he's not angry and that he doesn't blame himself anymore. He still does. Like, he still should have been there. And it's just more of a thing of, like, at this point, Halight's afraid of his own anger, because he feels like that's what initially pushed Diana away. Of course, Diana said in that conversation that it wasn't that, and Halight's thinking about it a bit more now. But he can't help but see it as the spark that started it.
You could see that because there was that point where you were sort of talking to Sam about sort of like, is there another way that I could channel my rage kind of thing? It's like that's because you like, these things have happened and you're like, oh no, it's my temper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I like the way that you, like, over that episode you were talking about that. It gave me a really interesting way of looking at the interpretation. The same thing that I said about the way I'm not just having all my swarm are fey beings, because that's what it says in the book. The way you're using the it's like is it the oath or whatever? What's the connection to the crowd? It's
a zealot barbarian.
Zealot barbarian, that's it.
So it's just a ephemeral feeling, essentially.
Yeah. So to me, that's not necessarily that Halite is someone with a great amount of rage. It's that Halite is actually really empathetic, and that's he's using other, because he cares about other people. He's using their like feeling of helplessness and being angry at that to feed that. So that to me is why I quite like the way he reacted, because he was also feeling the fact that because Diana does love him, he was like feeding like how sad it was making her having to have that conversation, as well as his own feelings, and
and Halite Halite didn't feel any malice behind that. So it didn't trigger any anger for him. But that's 100% right, Phil. Like, I wanted to challenge with Halite the feeling of being in a crowd of rabid fans, like being a part of that emotion, like, you know, singing along, bouncing, dancing, and then end up like going into a mosh pit. Like, just being a part of that energy is what Halite, you know, kind of is the thing. But like, every time Halite's raged, it hasn't been his own anger. He's challenged the anger of the crowd. He's been the weapon of the little guy. Like, he's a big man, he's very strong, and people can't stand up for themselves. They Halite channels their anger and uses it as power. But when Horus died, that was Halite's anger. Mm-hmm. That was Halite losing his mind and just being angry.
So that's why I think we all saw that difference, especially Diana.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Everyone, I think we quickly had this chat last night, Doran.
Yes, we did.
That's the moment Diana's heart broke.
And Halite can see that as well. That's why he blames himself.
Yeah. But it's not necessarily, it wasn't the anger, it was you were gonna leave. And like that.
But it's the anger's fault why I was gonna leave, is what Halite's thinking. That's why he's afraid of being angry. That's why he's afraid of channeling the crowd's anger, because maybe it's making him angry in the process.
Yeah.
It's been really interesting for all of us. Again, I don't think any of us really intended this when we started, but we've all kind of started going, no, let's really dissect how these mechanical things that are just part of the class would impact a person in their regular life. I mean, for Halite, it scared him. Like, he's not used to that level of aggression and anger, and when it's eventually become his own, it scared the people around him, which is the one thing he's never wanted to do.
Yeah.
For Diana, it's given this perception of confidence and exuberance, and has been pushed into that position, and it's terrifying her, because that mask that was there to protect her is now being interpreted as her, not a mask.
It is her.
But all the characters kind of have that. It's like Halite's angry, but he's not really his own anger. Diana is a singer, but isn't allowed to sing, but she sings anyway. Dewey loves the forest, but isn't allowed to go there. Fucking Zeke, drunken master, but he isn't trained in it. He's just sad and drunk. Like, yeah. Like, it's all very crazy interpretations of these classes, and it's just fucking beautiful to watch them unfold.
Again, much the same with Taxes, obviously, can't speak fully on her behalf, but from the way it looks on the outside, it's, oh yeah, what's the stereotypical rogue? the quiet, sullen one. Why is Taxes the quiet, sullen one? Not because she wants to be, because she doesn't know how to talk to people.
Yeah.
She tries. She knows how to read people.
Yeah.
But she doesn't understand how to communicate with them properly. And the only person that she feels that she can do that with is Diana, because they're the only people who they have both let Diana's metaphorical mask and Tax's quite literal mask come down for.
Yeah, you said about it being like amicable, and no anger and stuff involved. That is a very small part of probably what is about to come. And we might be going through the 5 stages of grief, and the anger might come.
Oh yeah,
you know.
I'm fully aware that it might, but
fully expecting Halite to get angry at some point. Which brings me to my next question.
Oh, just wait until someone fucking crosses our path, my dude.
Yeah. How do you feel about Garrick? How does Halite feel about Garrick in that moment?
Oh, there is a twist about that, is that Halite really wants to fucking murder Garrick and break his face in two, but Halite also realizes it's not his fault, and he's also just really sad as well.
Yeah.
They're both in love with Diana, and whatever makes Diana happy is what won't make Halite happy, right? Because Halite ultimately wants to be with Diana and all that, but Diana being happy is what Halite wants the most. And as long as Halite can still be in Diana's presence, I think that's enough for him in that sense.
Oh.
But I don't know.
She's both very, very sweet, but very, very toxic.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Exactly, it is.
Yeah.
It's just how it will. Because I built Halite with the sole purpose. One of the sole purposes being in mind is being Diana's boyfriend, and he was meant to be a one-shot character, and his whole thing was like, oh yes, I'm this person's boyfriend, that's who I am, and then when it became a full campaign, I had to flash him out, obviously, but Diana was still a central pillar to that, and once that pillar's removed, I'm kind of looking to I'm trying to look to rebuild it or keep it there, or it's still his main focus.
Personally, I think that's fascinating though, because that some people define themselves by their relationships.
Yeah,
and it's not something that's usually explored in D&D, because obviously you find the relationship far, far later while you've been in the campaign. So now we get to now watch Halite figure out who he is.
Yeah.
But to answer your question, I don't know. Halite can't help but blame Garrick in the sense of I wish if we fucking never met this guy, we would have been fine. At least Halite's thinking, or at least about that. But even though it probably would have bubbled over in the end and still ended up the same way, but further down the line. But I think Halite can see that. And it would have ended in this way, probably no matter what, potentially. He doesn't really know, or I don't really know either. Resulted, sorry, yeah. Resulted.
Because it's not ended.
Yeah, sorry, I meant resulted, yeah. So you can sympathize with Garrick, I think, is more of the thing. Because they're both just head over heels for Diana. And he's not done being competitive with him. It's just that I can't remember what episode it was. It was it's when we came back, because I wanted to do this, fucking thing like, oh, you brought home a deer, I brought home a fucking dragon, type thing. It was meant to be a flex, and then everyone fucking railed on him, and Halite was like, this was not my intention. I didn't want to bully this guy. And then we had a slight conversation about, oh yeah, he knew the guys in the ghost room, and that clicked for how Halite was like, oh shit, he was a part of this so many years ago, and he failed, and that rebellion failed, and he's still trying to do it again, still part of being this rebellion, and he can't help but be like, fair play. But he's also like, I can't imagine the people you've lost and the pain you've been through. And because he asked oh yeah, what were you guys' relationship? And oh yeah, with the whole drinking game. And Halleck knows he didn't end cleanly, and it was probably because of the war that happened. And if Halleck can't help but put himself in that shoes, what would happen if, how would Halleck feel to be Garrick? And it's just unbelievable sorrow. So Halleck can't be that angry at him because he can't help but be sad.
Oh, highlight you empath.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
So yeah. However, it's still difficult for me not to picture that bit from Avengers with Hulk and Thor at some point, with Halite in a rage and having the rune that makes him go enlarged, and he needs to attack something to maintain the rage. So just bang.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But yeah, that's how Halite kind of feels about Garrick right now. I want to have a conversation with him mono a mono, if I can.
Oh boy.
That is, yeah. Oh.
Oh no.
Has anyone got any other questions that?
I have a couple.
Okay.
So, what is Diana and Halleck's relationship now? Are they just friends? Are they still a bit more than that? Where do they stand in comparison to each other? Halleck's gonna ask this in RP as well, but
yeah.
Where's the headspace at?
I suppose that depends on how we play the characters later on. Because we haven't been all that involved with each other over the last the previous sessions. So if it carries on like that, then just friends who are in this group. Depends if you step it up, Doran.
I anticipate awkwardness.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. What do you think?
I know, it's very interesting because Halleck doesn't know where he stands either.
Yeah.
That's why he's like, can I still hug you? Is a thing that Halleck is he doesn't know. Is he allowed to still do this? It's a very thing. But also, I don't really know because I've never been really in a very involved relationship before in my life, so I don't really know what happens from this point. I didn't know. I was just fucking spitballing the entire time. I still don't know what's fucking happening.
Yeah.
But
yeah. I think
I don't know where the fucking stands. I don't know.
Yeah, I think Ben, you touched on it a bit earlier, where you said it's not healthy to can you still call me? Can I still call you babe? Can I still hug you? And can we just we're not together, but can we still sleep with each other? And can we just do this and this and you're like, well, where do you draw that line? Isn't it?
Boundaries.
Yeah, and
where are the boundaries is the question.
Where are the boundaries? I'm gonna be the bad guy again.
No, Diana's not the bad guy for doing what's right for Diana.
That doesn't stop someone from feeling like the bad guy.
Oh yeah, of course, but just
you'll see
put it out there. Yeah.
When you said, "Can I still call you babe?" what I said and what I thought was different, very different.
Oh really?
Mhm.
What did you hold back?
No.
Oh shit.
That would be meta.
But that's because it's not healthy,
Hmm.
you know. And from Diana's point of view, it's from her point of view, it's fine if you call her babe and if you still hug her and stuff, but that would ultimately be hurting Highlight more in the
Yeah.
long run. Oh. And that's what made me tear up earlier when I wrote it down. I still call you babe, no.
No. Oh god.
You
So
can,
real.
but you shouldn't.
You
You
can,
can,
but you shouldn't. I think that's yeah.
Yeah.
So
It's difficult.
sorry, Doran.
Yes.
No, that's fine.
Yeah.
I wrote something down and it was in the middle of the page, so I did see it, but I did star it, so there's no
Okay.
excuse. The most awkward part of that conversation was when Halai asked about Garrick specifically,
Oh yeah.
and I felt that I could say something that would, like, does it come across as a lie? Is it? And it was that, like, awkward sort of. It's truthful, no.
Yes, but no.
But also not truthful, no.
Yeah.
Because it had, slightly emotionally. There was a lot of tension.
It was definitely emotionally charged rather than sexually charged.
Yeah. My question was, what was happening between you and Garrick?
The sexual
What was
aspect
happening?
was because of the emotion rather than like it was love rather than lust.
Hmm.
Or at least in my impression, it was.
Yeah. No. No. I don't know. No. Yeah. That was hard because I felt everybody's eyes. I felt the chat. I felt like this is the moment Diana becomes a bad guy. Potentially.
Hmm. That's the thing. When I get into those, that's the thing. When I get into those emotional scenarios, it's just I can't help but like look away. I can't look at anyone in the eyes or face.
I know. You're oh.
Looking down, I can't. It's too much.
It's hard when it's on a screen. You can literally see everyone looking at you. Like,
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
you know the way you feel about Split Lick is, I think, the way I feel about Garrick. You know what I mean?
I mean, it's probably more like slight, not maternal, like family love,
Familial.
familial. It's more familial. For Halle, it's more like I'm trying to keep what's left.
Yeah, but it's still
in
the
the
same.
terms of
That's
yeah,
literally the same
Yeah.
thing.
Because
that's that's fair actually. Yeah.
Because, like I said, it's happened before, and the best way to know what's happening or what will happen in the future is to keep him right there so I can see what's happening. Yeah.
I must be in control.
Yeah.
If I'm in control, that means that nothing bad can happen to the people I care about.
Now I have everybody here that I can see
And protect.
and care about and protect.
Yeah.
And I can see things happening in real time.
Right, here's another question.
Yeah.
What does Bree want?
In terms of,
Does Bree want to get back with Halite? Want to go with Garrick? Want to explore options? Or get fucking with no one and just be by herself? That's okay too. Don't need a relationship.
don't need no man.
Don't need no man. Independent woman.
I'd like to say it's that one.
Strong, independent sun elf.
Yeah.
It's not okay if you're not independent as well.
Yeah.
Obviously, you should be a little bit independent, but it's okay to be like, I need help right now.
Yeah. But like we had that conversation with Dewey, and he was like, "It's okay to need, we need to trust each other. It's okay to need people." And I'm like, oh. It means I'm gonna have to let Dewey in at some point. I don't do that. Who is this kid?
How old is Dewey?
He's 21.
Cool. He's
Yeah.
a baby.
Yeah. I'm 200 years old. I didn't forget the question. What does Bree want?
What does Bree want? For Diana, I guess.
Yeah, well, that's different questions. Diana wants what she said. Doesn't want to get with Garrick. That's not a thing she wants. But Bree is not gonna lie and say that would be a very interesting dynamic for a love story, I guess. I see Phil's face.
You want the drama?
Yeah. Yeah. I guess I want to see where it goes. I want to potentially pursue that. I don't know. So I want. Diana doesn't necessarily want that. What did you think about that, Phil? Because you were laughing about that.
Yeah, I think seeing it how seeing how it plays out is going to be good. I think because there's going to be lots more awkward moments and more conversations and people in chat being like, why can't they just work it out?
I know. I think because Diana was in a relationship the whole campaign, I think I'm looking forward to exploring that. Like, kind of like, what will it go anywhere? Is that a thing that because it was forbidden fruit, it couldn't happen, but like, was Garrick actually sincere? And yeah. So from a player point of view, I want to know that. Yeah. What do you two? What do the players want?
What do I want for highlights?
Well, no, as in what? Yeah, what? I guess Ben and Phil. What?
Phil is looking forward to a lot of just fun, dramatic will they, won't they, back and forth.
Is this with Garrick or with Halite?
Oh no, with Halite. Okay. Dewey is like, no, he's sad. Stop it.
Yeah.
Zeke is looking at it and just kind of acknowledging that it was likely to happen one way or another. It's better that it's happened because of what has been said rather than one of you not being there anymore.
Yeah.
Ben? I'm honestly just interested in watching the drama.
You sassy.
I know.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm just interested in just watching you, Sam, and Sarah all figure that
Yeah.
out, and then just sitting there with Squirrely and Dewey and doing this.
Just eating
Popcorn. Popcorn.
Yeah.
Oh god.
Because that is how next session is opening. With Sarah walking up to Garrick and going, "We're through."
There was nothing there though.
I mean,
That doesn't change how
No.
Taxes feels.
yeah.
There's going to be a lot of tension.
I think that's why I was like, or like, I guess Diana was like, not happy with the situation, but not because it was Garrick, just because like, you're gonna, this is not right. You're gonna.
One of you's going to hurt the other.
Yeah, looking after taxes really.
Yeah.
And I think this is the first time that someone has really been interested in taxes. Diana is.
Unless Diana's interested in taxes.
Yeah. And then Diana's like, "She's my friend though, so."
Yes. Yes. Do it.
What are you doing? What are you? Can Garrick? No, fuck off. This is my friend. Yeah.
Yes.
It'll be interesting to see how it carries on. Anyone else got any other final questions before we wrap it up?
Yeah, Doran is.
Does Diana love taxes?
Doran is shipping.
I love it so much.
Taxes and Diana.
I imagine platonically.
No. No.
It's probably not been something that either of them have even considered yet.
Until Taxes and Garrick.
Yeah. That's why I said considered yet.
Yet. Yeah.
Well.
I'm also looking forward to I think the thing with vexation was interesting.
Yeah.
It was a really small pub. I think it was a really big deal.
Mm-hmm.
It was a big deal definitely for Diana.
And Vex as well.
And Vex,
it was,
yeah. To give her that acknowledgement.
It's the first time that, they were like, I don't know if I'd like to think that they spoke casually when we were away for a week, but I mean, probably you can't completely ignore someone for a whole week.
You'd be surprised.
There's just 4 of you in a cave. You kind of have to speak.
You'd be surprised.
But yeah, that's the first time. So I think I'm looking forward to having an actual conversation with vexation.
Yeah.
And that's where we're gonna leave it for this session of Rider's Digest. I hope you've enjoyed the insight into what we were thinking, how we were feeling, the very real emotions that me and Doran brought to this chat. Thank you to all our patrons for following and subscribing. Thank you to everyone who watches, who interacted with us in chat, especially last night. That made such a difference.
Easy.
Freaked us out more. But we love that, and we love you guys. So here's to next week's Rider's Digest. If you have any questions, then let us know. See you next week, guys. Bye.
I think I have indigestion. Where the fuck is that goat?
The person who's ended relationships?
How dare you? I'm a player.
I mean, you could stop at any time. It's
Yeah.
recorded.
It's recorded. It can be cut. Oh well, I'm just going to ignore them two now.